Welcome into another edition of Sherwood Ford Giant Offseason Questions, brought to you by Sherwood Ford the Giant. Tyler Yaremchuk and Zach Laing with you. We will get to the Giant question, but first, Zach, it was a busy day for Oilers GM Ken Holland. It was a busy night. It's been a busy 24 hours. Let's go back to the news we got late last night. Evander Kane is back. It's a 4-year deal. $5.125 million is the cap hit for Kane. What were your initial thoughts of that contract when you saw it come down?
I was surprised, Tyler. I mean, it's a really team-friendly deal here for the Edmonton Oilers. The term's great at 4 years. The money is great as well. The money really fits into that second tier of Oilers players we have now. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Zach Hyman, and now Evander Kane. I mean, the production was great from Kane last year, and the contract all around is tremendous. You're getting a nice low cap hit, and the contract, if worse comes to worse, a couple years down the road, it's pretty movable. I think this is a massive win for the Edmonton Oilers to retain a player that they clearly really valued and one that the team really likes as well.
Yeah, Ken Holland making a point in his press conference to say that almost every player in their exit meetings at the end of the year said they wanted Evander Kane back. This deal for me looked good from the jump, and then you saw Andrew Kopp get 5 years, $5.6 million. Then you saw Vincent Trocheck get 7 years, $5.6 million, and you go, neither of those two guys have 40-goal potential. Evander Kane showed last season he has 40-goal potential in this Oilers lineup. Granted, you're bringing on some risk because of Kane and the outside issues with him and sort of his history, but at the end of the day, a guy with 40-goal potential signing relatively short term in 4 years at under $5.5 million is a home run of a contract, in my opinion, for Ken Holland, and I don't think they're done quite yet on the forward front. We'll push that to the side because the next deal we got was one that was pretty expected, 5x5 for Jack Campbell. We've broken this down a little bit, but it feels like today the Oilers set themselves up to have a really good tandem with Skinner and Campbell for the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I think so. I think this is probably a pretty solid contract, all things considering. Maybe a year or two too long, maybe $1 million more than you'd want to spend. But at the end of the day, the Oilers had a clear need for a number one goaltender, and they got that in Jack Campbell. He's been really solid over the last 2 years in Toronto. You know, Campbell did have that bit of a tough spell last year between January and April, but he was injured and battled what he said was some mental blocks. But I think this is a guy that's going to come in and gel really well with this team. Yeah. You know, the Oilers are almost becoming the Toronto Maple Leafs West, right? Yeah. You know, you got Campbell, Zach Hyman, Cody Ceci, Tyson Barrie,
Greg McKegg.
Yeah, that's right. Another former Maple Leaf. I think this is a solid signing that's really going to set up the Oilers well. We heard Ken Holland this afternoon say he envisions Campbell playing around 50 games a year, which would mean there's about 30 games for Stuart Skinner, give or take.
Yeah, and Skinner's on a dirt cheap deal for 1 more year, but even if he plays 30 seasons, the increase there isn't going to be a lot salary-wise, so it looks like the Oilers could have a tandem in Skinner and Campbell at a relatively good number for a few years here, and we know in today's NHL, there's no more just riding one guy to 60 games. You need someone who can kind of have that back and forth. You need a duo, and the Oilers duo, I feel a lot more confident going into the year with Campbell and Skinner than I would have going back with Koskinen and Smith again. There was some nervous moments regarding Brett Kulak. You know, it sounded like a week ago, like, hey, this might get done between the Oilers and Kulak. Then all of a sudden it was okay. He's going to test free agency, but the Stony Plain native is back. And when you look at 4x4 for Nick Leddy, 4x4 for Eric Goodbranson as well. Even a guy like Ilya Lyubushkin got $2.something million per year. $275.
Same deal.
Okay. The Oilers got Brett Kulak, who is a legit strong defensive defenseman, which they need on this blue line when you look at having Bouchard and Barrie on the right side. This is another slam dunk home run deal for Holland, in my opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, we saw the priority and the need for left side defensemen from the Oilers here with Duncan Keith retiring. Kulak came in, he fit like a glove on that third pair alongside Tyson Barrie. Really helped stabilize the Oilers defense heading into the playoffs, and they needed that to come back here this year. I think it's really, like, something that Ken Holland's done really well is allowing Evander Kane and Brett Kulak to go to the market and say, hey, you know what? If you guys think you're worth more, you go ahead. Go out there, see if you can find it, and just know that we're here. Like, we're still here for you guys. And that's exactly what happened in both cases. And both players probably left a good chunk of change on the table to take team-friendly deals with the Oilers here. I think both of these deals really help set up the Oilers for a while. And I'm a huge fan of Brett Kulak. I mean, what more can you say about the guy? He came in and he looked really good this year.
He was, in a way, the Tyson Barrie whisperer when you look at some of the numbers and how Barrie seemingly got strong, or not strong, but better in the defensive zone as long as he was paired up with Brett Kulak. There's still some work to do. I think when you look at the way their D pairings are looking, they'll probably get a veteran D-man at some point. Yeah. Think of it like the Chris Russell replacement in a way. And there's a few intriguing options out there still. And also, I don't think Ken Holland is done adding to the forward group of this Oilers team either. And the one name we kept hearing is Conor Brown. Holland obviously didn't address Brown specifically, but didn't dismiss those rumors. Bob McKenzie has kind of made it sound like a deal's going to happen, and Brown could very well be an Oiler as long as there's no major hurdles. What do you think about Conor Brown as a potential fit to this forward group?
I like Conor Brown quite a bit. I mean, he's a big winger who plays with some size. He's a guy that's got a little bit of an edge to his game, and he's got strong underlying numbers as a two-way play driver. And I think that's really what you want to see here. You know, we're seeing the Oilers shifting towards a little bit more of an analytical mindset in a lot of the decisions they're making. I think that this is one that they're going to be doing with Conor Brown. It'll be interesting to see what the cost is. It sounds like it's going to be draft picks going the other way, and there's been some talk that the Oilers might actually be looking to acquire draft picks to flip in the trade for Conor Brown. So it'll be interesting to see if maybe there's a third team that comes into the picture to help and solve some of this.
That makes me think that the Oilers are being very cautious to make sure they have enough draft picks to potentially make a splash at next year's trade deadline, because they have a first, a second, a third, a fifth, a sixth, and a seventh rounder for this upcoming draft. If all it's taking is picks to get Conor Brown, you would imagine the Oilers can move out of their current supply, but I imagine they're being a little bit cautious to avoid something like this last deadline when they didn't have a ton of picks. But we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. Let's handle the Sherwood Ford giant question for today. What letter grade do you give Ken Holland for his early work in free agency?
I'm going to go and give it an A. I really don't know what else he can do. I mean, you got team-friendly deals for Kane and Kulak. I really like the Jack Campbell signing. Greg McKegg is going to come in as a depth player in the organization, probably start in the American Hockey League and come up as a 14th forward if need be. But you know what? I think this has been a really, really solid day for the Oilers, and one that's really going to help set them up for success as they look to win a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, a great deal for Evander Kane. I really like the term and money there. Jack Campbell, hey, Ken Holland, the knock on him as Oilers GM, or one of the knocks, is he's never been able to go out and get them that legitimate long-term goalie. He went and took his shot with Jack Campbell, and I think you have to like that. And the Kulak deal I love as well. I'm with you. It's boring when we agree, but I'm giving Ken Holland an A as well. I want to hear from you. Drop your letter grade. How do you think Ken Holland did in the early hours of free agency? And make sure you keep it locked on Oilers Nation, because old Uncle Ken is not done yet. Thanks for watching another edition of the Sherwood Ford Giant Offseason Questions.